Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Obviously, Space Marine 2 has been an absolute smash hit with the fans out there. It's made Saber Interactive a very successful company out there and has turned into probably one of the surprise hits that a lot of people have had a lot of fun with. I know I've had an absolute blast playing the game. I played it with several of my friends. We've had a really good time. I've absolutely enjoyed it. It's just a lot of fun, and I think it's a game with future updates and stuff like that that will stand the test of time and live on very much in the future. So obviously, Saber Interactive CEO knows how to make a good video game, which is a lot of good quality out there. Obviously, he's had some very base takes on a few different things out there, and we really have enjoyed what he has given us to produce it. And he has some predictions about what the future of the video game industry are at, and considering the success he has already had, it's a very interesting thing out there. And he absolutely blasts AAA video game studios out there and their absolutely outrageous budgets, which have seen companies like Ubisoft completely and totally go down the toilet for all of the amount of insane money they've done and all of the losses they've had as well. So we've got this article over here from boundingintocomics.com. Saber Interactive CEO says middle market titles like Space Marine 2 poised to make a comeback as AAA development becomes unsustainable. Yes, boys and girls, he believes that games like Space Marine 2 that actually, I don't know, please the fans, respect the lore, and actually give us good quality gaming content that everybody has an absolute blast with, that doesn't beat you over the head with a bunch of nonsense politics BS, is actually going to be the future of gaming. And if that is the case, boys and girls, I think we're going to have a very bright future ahead of us. So we're going to check out this article from Bounding Into Comics, get into all the juicy details and see exactly what he has to say. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below, letting know what you think about this, and is this actually a good thing for you? Is it good to see some of these bigger studios actually fail and collapse and kind of end up spreading their kind of stuff around out there? Are you excited to see what the future of gaming holds, or do you think we're just going to have one more disastrous dumpster fire from all of these studios until the industry ends up burning itself down? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. So from Spencer McCooley over at Bounding Into Comics. In the opinion of Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Kark, not only have ballooning budgets resulted in a AAA video game production becoming outright unsustainable, but the current reckoning taking place across the industry is opening the door for a new era of middle market titles. Obviously, Concord, Star Wars Outlaws, the future Assassin's Creed Shadows release, all of these things are turning into giant flops for the video game industry, and it's just damaging all of their brands overall. Kark weighed in on the current turmoil across this industry during a recent interview given to IGN's Rebecca Valentine. Following a reflection on both Saber Interactive's April 2024 decision to split off from their former parent company, Embracer Group, which, considering some of the things that Embracer Group has done over the past few years, it was probably a very smart decision, as well as their ongoing financial struggles, the Saber Interactive CEO asserted, in general, I would say that AAA development has become very risky, and that's where Saber is different. Saber, I believe, can create AAA, but not at a AAA budget. I mean, I would consider Space Marine 2 an absolute AAA game, and we know they didn't spend anywhere near as much on that game as they did on Concord, now did they, Sony? Good job with that one. From there, Kark explained to Valentine that rather than aiming to make the next multi-million-dollar franchise, Saber Interactive instead sees itself as a middle-market publisher. And it is this niche that the CEO wants to focus his team's attentions. I think that as games become more expensive to make, that $70 title is going to go the way of the dodo bird. Yes, please. I do. I just don't think it's sustainable. Look at you, remember the hype for Cyberpunk 2077, which I think actually performed okay. But when the expectations are so high and so much money is put into one title, it's hugely risky for the company that's doing it. And even the CEO of that company that created Cyberpunk 2077 even came out just a little while ago and said flat out, like, look, we know we are never going to fix the damage that we did to our brand, but we were going to show up every day to try to make sure we fix this game and make it a good quality experience going forward. And I can respect the hell out of that, but they obviously understand what kind of damage it did to their brain and that brand, and that's all he's expressing right here is we know how much this can end up causing problems going forward. What if it fails? You remember what happened when Ubisoft a couple of years ago, all their titles slipped out of the year and then all of a sudden they were in an entirely different place? Yes, it's hard to, and he says it's hard to recover that. And it absolutely is for Ubisoft. Ubisoft flat out said that they have been bleeding money for the last few years and they were hoping that Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows would put them back in the black. We know Star Wars Outlaws is flopped and we can expect the exact same cane out of Assassin's Creed Shadows going forward. Ubisoft is a company that is already looking to go private at this point and very well may not exist in the exact same thing. We see it in the very near future. I think the market is going to shift to development, which is not necessarily lower quality, but there's going to be an emphasis on trying to find ways to reduce costs. That's what happens when a market contracts. It absolutely has to. At this time, with Valentine drew to a close, Kark ultimately predicted, I think there's going to be a real shortage of game content over the coming few years. You've seen how many layoffs there's been. So many games have gotten killed. But we have a lot of good projects going on that I'm proud of and that I feel really, really strongly about. And that's the case that we've seen. We've seen that. We've seen the massive amount of layoffs because of this constriction. We've seen because of games like baiting on games like Concord, spending $400 million on something that literally was turned out to be the biggest video game disaster in history. These big, giant, major studios out there are failing time and time again. And I think what we're going to end up seeing is a contraction in the video game industry going forward and a decentralization of these studios getting more mid-tier games, and which I would still consider AAA games, just not have these outrageous budgets behind them like what we've seen with things like Concord. I like this idea a lot better going forward. And yeah, guess what? That $70 to $130 price tag Star Wars Outlaws, yeah, that's not sustainable going forward either, boys and girls. And notably, this is not the first time that Kark has offered his criticism of the current state of industry. He left a comment on Asmongold's video talking about how all he wanted to do was make a throwback game and how dealing with all of this stuff over there at Embracer, this made him want to cry because of all of the politics, and that's one of the reasons why their company separated from them. So this guy is smart. This guy knows what's up. It's a good idea to listen to him for the future of the video game industry out there because he knows what works. And if he keeps this up, if he keeps going forward with this kind of stuff, Saber Interactive will continue and end up getting success after success. And I honestly cannot wait to see what the next thing that they come up with. Normally, I'm a guy that's just more attached to certain properties and certain IPs, but this is the kind of company that's saying the right things. This is the kind of CEO out there that is clearly taken a common sense approach to giving us good quality video games. And I would imagine that Saber Interactive going forward is probably going to give us some of the best video games we see over the next few years and especially even over the next decade. And I'm excited to see what they produce for us going forward because these guys are saying all of the right things. They're doing all of the right things. Their words match up with the products that they are giving us. And I am excited to see what the future of their holds out there. And guess what? If all of these AAA studios go bankrupt, hey, it's just better for all of us. And at the end of the day, they'll get exactly what they deserve.